Hello and welcome to another Adobe Illustrator CS3 lesson where we're going to do some First Nations art using one of 4 basic templates I've given you, and they're all going to be using an eagle because we're going to use that eagle in our logo, our Don Ross logo assignment. So this is lesson number 2 where we create an eagle. So I'm going to choose the one on the upper right. I'm going to take this one, I'm going to put it in the middle. So I'll just center it and put it in the middle. So this is my finished version of the assignment. And we're just going to go on the layers palette, and I'm going to turn that layer off and turn this layer on. Now I've got the resized version of the one that I wanted to use, and I've got a little picture of some Squamish Nation art from their website, so you can kind of see it. Now I've made a bunch of little pieces, and I did these all with a pen tool. The layer, I've got to get on the right layer, and remember, it's click, click and drag, click and drag, click, click, click and drag for a curve, click and drag for a curve, and click and drag for a curve. Now, a couple important things to know when you're drawing. If I take the white arrow tool, let's just zoom in on this for a second. If I take the white arrow tool, you can move a point. And you can tell it's filled in. This one's not filled in. I click on now, it's filled in, so I can move the point. You can also move the anchors, the handles, not the anchors, but the handles, and that will change what the curve looks like. You can also use align properties, so these points aren't quite even. If you wanted them to be even, when you select them, just these two, you can align them to the top, and then they align that way. Same with these two. I can align them to the top. They line up. Hold the shift key down, take the second one, and I can align that to the top. And then I can start changing the angles. And that will change all those things. So those are different ways to manipulate things. So anyways, what I did on this one was I started with something simple here. I went click, click and drag, click, click and drag to get a nice curve instead of a straight line, and click. Now, I took this and I want Control C and Control V. Because I want it pretty much exactly the same on the other side, I want to go Object, Transform, and Reflect. And you want to reflect vertical at 90 degrees and say OK. If the preview is checked, you can see if you did it right, because that always confuses me. And there I've got that piece. So that's how I did those pieces on the wings. I'll zoom out again, Control minus. Then I made something like this with a pen tool. So that was, I made kind of click, click and drag, click and drag, click, click and drag, click and drag, click. And then I use a white arrow tool to make it a little more perfect. And you use your grid lines to set these things up. And so then I just started to stack them in a nice way. And it went like that. Right click, arrange, send to back. And then I took 2 more, Control C and V, and align those up there. And Control V again, except this time I'll just take 1 and align that up like that. Then I'll just go Control minus. I'll just turn back on my good one again here. The eye is pretty easy to make. All these pieces are pretty easy to make. I'll make one of those on the tail feather. And I took a pen and I just went click, just one click and drag, and click. And then you just go Control C and Control V, and then you can flip it. You can also make it way smaller while holding the Shift key. Make it go black. Oops, that was the line color. I'm going to switch that. Go no stroke, put that on there. And then that can go in the middle. We can resize it. We can do whatever we want there. And then these guys, I made this with an ellipse tool. I took the white arrow tool, dragged over the end, changed it to a point. Took that, dragged over the end, made it to a point. Then I took this and dragged it way down, and that, and dragged it way up. Then I took my black arrow tool and I rotated it. And I can't remember exactly what I did with it, but it's something like that. Control C, Control V, Object, Transform, Reflect, 90 degrees vertically, and then you can, start to run things like that. Grab those both, make them smaller. Oops, that doesn't work at the same time because they've been rotated. But you can mess with the anchors if you want, and pull this out, pull that one down, make it thicker, do whatever you want with it. So have some fun with it. Look at these, try and use some of the ideas in here and come up with a pretty cool eagle. And I'm just going to go and give you a final view of mine. Turn that one off, turn that one on. And I chose to use, instead of white, red, and black like they did, I chose to use the blue because those are our school colors, and I'm going to use that later in the final section. Okay, thanks for watching.